You want to see how we do it in the pros?
Changing your swing is about repetition without repetition. You don't just hit 500 balls with this thing and change your swing. You also don't just hit 500 balls without a thought.
Welcome to Earned Not Given.
Well, guys, it's the greatest week in the entire golf season, and I'm so excited to have both you guys on here to talk all things the Masters, talk all things that you experience both as a player and as a caddy, walking the hallowed grounds of Augusta. But for the 2 or 3 listeners that are actually going to watch this, if you guys would take the time to introduce yourself and explain how we ended up all getting to be inside the ropes, drive down Magnolia Lane, and do everything that was amazing at Augusta. So Aaron, we'll start with you because without you, AJ and I wouldn't have had the privilege of going to Augusta. So why don't you fill the listeners in with kind of how we ended up at Augusta National?
Yeah, so pretty much there's a few amateur events throughout the year that can get you to Augusta. One's the Latin America, Asia Pacific, British Am, US Am, winning that or finishing runner-up, and Mid Am. And 2022, being from the Cayman Islands, we get to play in Latin America each year, and 2022 managed to win that, and that's kind of how. And AJ was being my college coach, you know, and you being my coach. We kind of went from there and ended up at Augusta that year.
And AJ, obviously, you were the college coach, but then you got a whole different role at Augusta. So fill us in a little bit.
Yeah, Zach, thanks for having us. Well, I was coaching at UNLV at that time, and Aaron wanted to go play at the Latin American Amateur, and it was actually a discussion that we had because I wanted him to be there to play for the team at Pepperdine's event. And he kind of said in my office, he's like, "Come on, coach, like I'll go to LAC, I'll win, I'll come home, you can caddy for me at Augusta." And I was like, he kind of talked me into it. So he goes and wins the dang tournament, and sure enough, I got to caddy.
It's amazing. And having both you guys on is going to be so fun to talk through everything. But for everyone to understand, Aaron, you went into that 2022 Latin American Championship a good player, not a highly ranked player. But what AJ just said, I think, is really important. You not only told AJ you're going to win and convinced him to allow you to play and promised him he would get to caddy, but before going to that tournament, you also told your mom a very similar story that, hey, I'm going to win. And lo and behold, you go and win. And then we're all on a Zoom call with somebody from Augusta National basically spending an hour, I felt like, telling us all the rules before we were even allowed to decide if we could go. And luckily enough for us, you get a certain amount of days before you play the actual tournament to go on scouting trips. You guys decided to do a scouting trip. I felt like it was the day after the Latin American Championship, but there might have even been snow on the ground when you guys went in February for that first time. So not many people that are listening to this, but more importantly than people listening to this, not many people in the world get to see those pillars drop down and drive down Magnolia Lane. So if you guys could walk us through that first experience when we finally signed our life away in blood and were told that we were allowed on the property, what was it like going to Augusta the first time as a player, future caddy, current college coach? I can't imagine what it felt like.
Yeah, so I think the first time, you know, we really thought about it, we were back in Vegas. The team came back from Pepperdine, I came back, and I was speaking to AJ about it, and AJ was like, I think we should just go sooner than later because it's kind of on your mind. And then we made that trip. We got calls at Augusta when we could come out and hopped on like a 3 a.m. flight from Vegas to Atlanta, and then went there for a couple of days. And then, you know, I think the first time going there was just mind blowing. You know, I've been thinking about it ever since, you know, winning the event in January. And then to experience that with AJ just the first time, it was unreal. It was like, there was so many rules you have to just go through and make sure that you don't want to mess up, right? You know, first time in Augusta, you don't want to get kicked out or anything. And going from Vegas to there, it was a fun trip, you know, especially coming back after those days. You know, we had a 2-hour drive. We got no sleep from Augusta to Atlanta airport, and I think AJ will give his coach's perspective, but I think from a player standpoint, it's a special place. You go in there and you're just like, wow. And then after you take that first trip, you start to get used to, the energy and what's going around at Augusta.
How about for you, AJ? I'm assuming you were driving that car down Magnolia Lane. What did that feel like?
Yeah, it was awesome, man. It was so good. I mean, we were tired, right? We only had like maybe 2 or 3 hours of sleep, but it wasn't one of those situations where you're like, oh, let's get some sleep and then we'll just get to the course at 11. It's like, we're going to be at Augusta National as the sun comes up. Like, there's just no other option.
Yeah.
I remember sitting down, having breakfast and just taking it all in. But, well, it's real hard to explain, but you take that drive down and it's like, all right, let's see what this is all about. We were just like excited. We were curious. We were just like, I don't know. I was so happy for Aaron. I was happy to be there with him and just trying to keep him off his cell phone the whole time, trying to, make sure he didn't break any rules on his first day at Augusta.
Yeah, it was amazing. And you guys came back from that trip, and obviously as a team, we talked about some of the things that you experienced from the golf course and technically some of the changes that Aaron was going to need to make and some of the shots that he was going to need to add to his repertoire. But I think that concept of, right, there's no rules at Augusta, there's just traditions, there's no menu at the breakfast. And they even remembered Aaron's smoothie order the next time we got to go and I got to come. And similar to that, like when I got to go with Aaron, I drove up. We spent, I don't even know, I feel like we played 72 holes of golf in 2.5 days. And then we finally passed each other, right, AJ? You were coming to take Aaron back. We said, hey, we're having lunch. Why don't you come and join us? I go into the pro shop and say, hey, AJ's going to come and join us for lunch. And they're like, well, okay, but you need to meet AJ in the parking lot across the street because Aaron's only allowed one non-playing guest. So I think I ate half my sandwich, then met you in the parking lot, and then we switched. But for me, I think the biggest thing was getting to experience it without the tournament, getting to go in the locker room, and the guys in the locker room were a vibe, and they knew Aaron, and they loved him, and the waiter was incredible, right? He just had such an ability to remember who we were and the story behind how we got there. And that just continued through the whole tournament. It's pretty hard to put into words, but every single member of staff, from one of the assistant pros to the head pro to the waiter in the grill room, they all remembered our names from 1 or 2 trips to the entire time at Augusta. And to me, that's what makes Augusta special. It's the things that people don't get to see on TV. It's the grill room, or where Aaron spent most of his time in that little like cubby hole where he could go on his phone because he couldn't be on his phone in the grill room. But from the milkshakes to the chicken sandwiches to everything, it was just amazing, right? So Augusta being Augusta, and I know you guys are probably the same. I have match cases, I have water bottles, I've got more cups than I know what to do with. But I think the best thing about Augusta is the memories. 2022 will be a year I never forget because of what we got to experience at Augusta. So in those scouting trips, AJ, obviously you got tasked with the opportunity and the challenge of being a first-time caddy for a first-time player at the Masters. For a kid who has an amazing personality and is very gregarious, but also you had to keep the blinders on. So what did it look like from that first scouting trip to that second scouting trip where we met in the parking lot, and then when you actually put the jumpsuit on? What was that journey like, and how did you manage to keep Aaron being Aaron the whole time?
Well, I think that first trip was more like we wanted to figure out what equipment he needed. Brad, I believe we added a 7-wood because of that first scouting trip we took, but that was kind of what that trip was for. Let's find out what equipment changes we need to make because we still have time to make those changes. And then let's go and get the off factor just out of the way. Let's just get out there. We're not going to work on swing videos and we're not going to do this. We're just going to go and just play Augusta National, right? And that was kind of that first trip. You know, we did a little shopping in the pro shop and just kind of took a tour of the whole place, did that. And then by the time I got there for the second one, it was like, okay, we actually have a tournament coming up here. Let's start preparing ourselves for this tournament.
Yeah.
Amazing. You know, from there, like I remember us landing, we drove to Chick-fil-A and then in Atlanta and then drove straight out there, and we were out there for the whole week. And, you know, Sunday was actually one of my favorite days, the day before Masters Week started. And I think Aaron's got some cool stories from that day as well. But just getting to share that time with the other caddies in the caddy shack, which is just to the right-hand side of the range. You know, to think about the history of the caddies that have come through there. You know, I played at one time, so I knew what I enjoyed from a caddy, but like you said, I didn't have really any experience caddying at this kind of level. But I was able to kind of draw back on some of the things I enjoyed in a caddy, and just try to be as prepared as I could be for Aaron, right? Because his job was to go out there and execute shots that week. And my job was to try to, you know, make everything else going on around him seem easy.
Yeah, well, you did an amazing job of that. I think the vibe from the house to the entire week, it was fun, but I also think there was a job to do, and I think the entire team did a very good job of realizing why there are those scouting trips, right? We got over the awe of Augusta. I don't think you ever desensitize yourself to Augusta National, but I think we did get over the fact that, wow, this is Augusta, or wow, this is the famous, you know, shot into 16, or this is what it looks like when you stand on the 10th tee. And while in those scouting trips, there was the amazing beverage cart with the best hot chocolate I've ever had in my life between 9 green and 10 tee, that went away. But I don't think what went away was how privileged we felt to be there. So to help everybody, because we could just sit here and talk about our experience the whole time, but I think what's really cool is not many people understand the architecture and the way that Augusta National is. So whether we talk through every hole or we just talk about our favorite holes, and we'll have memories on each of those holes, which will kind of be fun. But for me, I would love to have your guys' perspective on the golf course, and then we can go into the fun stories of the week. But what does it look like, right? We had the privilege of practicing on the tournament practice ground to kind of desensitize ourselves to that. But even just that golf cart ride from the range to the clubhouse, and then you walk through the clubhouse, and then you go out past the oak tree, and then it's like, wow, this is where we are. Let's talk about the first hole, right? The first tee shot. Well, Sunday, Aaron hit the first tee shot in the tournament, right? And there was a bunch of the drive, chip, and putt guys. Thankfully, there was no one in the merchandise tent, because I think he hit the merchandise tent. But what does it look like? Number one, I think it's kind of an underrated hole. Like, obviously it's Augusta and you know it, but the thing that stood out to me was I felt like I needed like rappelling gear to go down from the tee, and then going up that hill, it's way steeper than it looks like. That's it's like a valley, right? So what do you guys think of number one? Obviously, there's a couple things, right? Aaron, you ended up playing from the bunker one time. You played from the trees one time. So we don't necessarily have to talk about what the fairway on one looks like. But let's talk about hole number one.
It's hard. People, like, until you, for all the people watching and listening, this course is a beast. I mean, obviously you get your birdie chances out there, but number one tee shot is probably one of the hardest tee shots on the course.
You playing driver? You playing 3-wood? What are you doing there?
I'm smashing driver. If I hit 3-wood a little further, then it probably would have been a 3-wood. But driver all week, and my first tee shot went so far right, I just didn't even bother to look. Like, we just hit another ball, and that one was still right, but it wasn't as bad. But I think the days that we got to go out there and there's no one and it's just us, and you know, we got to meet like Peyton Manning out there. I played with Brooks in an unofficial practice round. It's just like it's definitely more common, and you get to really, focus in on your shots a little more. But the first shot I hit on that Sunday and even the Monday practice round were just so nerve wracking. And then as time goes on, you get used to it. But hole one is definitely you want to get off to a good start and hit a good tee shot there.
It's gettable, don't you think, AJ? Like, it's one of those ones that if you took all the nerves away and it was just, if it was the 7th hole, it would be a different story, right? It's not, I mean, obviously you got to hit it in the right place on the approach shot, but do you think the tee shot is the challenge there, or is it the moment?
It's the moment for sure. I mean, how could it not be? It's the,
Sure.
you know what I mean? It's like, it's the hardest tee shot on the course because it's in that moment. It's the first tee shot and that long walk you have to take up there. And, there's the patrons just lining the first tee, and it's just, there's a lot going on in that moment. It feels so special, but it's like really hard to just commit to, hey, I'm going to start this down the left rough line and it's going to bleed right like 7 yards. Like, that's a hard shot to hit. And then you feel a little wind coming in off your left, and man, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those holes that if you get off to a good start, great. But if you take par, you're feeling great, right? And you're walking to, well, now it's a different hole, right? Number 2, they've changed the tee for this year, but number 2 is gettable, right? If you can take it over that bunker, I think it'll be interesting to see this year. Moving it back and a little bit to the left, what that's going to do. But hole number 2, I guess, for a story, right? I think of Aaron. We were out there. I think it was late Monday night. We went back out for a few holes. I think even after we played with Taylor Gooch, because he decided to wear shorts onto the driving range, we ended up getting to play a few holes with Taylor. I guess we could put an asterisk on this podcast too. But so number 2 wasn't our favorite tee shot. You were working through some stuff. You and I made a little bit of a bet that if you didn't hit it good or you didn't hit the fairway, you're going to have to do 10 push-ups. And then one of the other amateurs rolls up and he just sees you repping out 10 push-ups on the second tee.
Yeah, I think it was the guy who won the Asia Pacific, Kita. I forgot his full name, but we're just out there on hole 2, and I push one right or hit one of the trees left, and next thing you know, I'm out there doing 20 push-ups, and it's just you and Ian. It's just us 3, and AJ's there obviously, and then this guy just rolls up behind us, and then he just sees me doing push-ups at Augusta National, on the course, and that was a pretty funny story. And then I think we went on and played a few holes with him after that. But
yeah, I think we did, and I think in the scouting trips, you played number 2 really well. I mean, I remember a couple of times you got down there on the green in 2. I think it's one of those holes that obviously is a birdie hole because it's par 5, but they put that pin in the front left, and it gets nasty. And you hit one amazing golf shot in the tournament to that flag. You want to share that, or you guys share a little bit of a story about how you hit such a good wedge in there in the tournament?
Hey, do you want to go first? Yeah, it was trying to remember what day it was. I believe, well, we also hit, it was I think it was the first day or the second day too. I'm way back, had to lay up, and I had 7-iron to that pin way left, and the wind was just not with us. It was just very difficult shot, and I had 180 something downhill to the pin that's way on the left, probably 3 off the left, and I hit this great 7-iron to 20 feet and walk out of there with par. And I think number 2 is designed if you par 1 and birdie 2, that changes your whole round. But if you bogey 1 par 2, it's going into the rest of the holes 4, 5, 6, 7 are not easy holes. So I think getting off to 2 and a good start is crucial out there.
Yeah, AJ, I'll hear from you, but I also think the front nine's underrated. I don't think 1-9 is necessarily harder than the other because the entire golf course is hard, but the front 9 doesn't get enough hype. That stretch 4, 5, 6, 7, my God, you're just holding on, trying to survive, right?
Yeah, par seems like a really good score, but yeah, number 2 is a gettable hole. It's a lot harder when you hit Healy, Wipey cuts out to the right.
Yeah, we were over by that. I know the bathroom on 2 because I felt like we were looking for golf balls over by that bathroom.
But that 7-iron he hit, I think that, like, for me, it felt like the tournament finally started after that 7-iron, the first round into hole 2, because it was like his first really good positive swing. I think he kind of had his heart rate under control. I did too. And it was like, okay, let's go play golf now, you know? But that 7-iron he hit really kind of settled me in. I don't know how Aaron felt, but that just felt like a moment where the tournament finally started for us.
Yeah, I love that. Probably one of my favorite views on the entire golf course too. Standing up there on top of 2 and looking down and getting to see 8T, getting to see 7 green, getting to see 3. It's just, I mean, it's hard to put into words how incredible it is that you can see so much of the golf course from so many places. But in that scouting trip where we were told we weren't allowed to use our phones, and I can't think of how many selfies I have of myself on top of that hill on number 2. Probably have a few from the creek on the left too. But number 3 is an interesting hole, right? It's a strategy hole. We played it a bunch of different ways in the scouting trip. We even played it a couple different ways in the tournament, right? You can either smash it down there or you can lay up. The green is just treacherous, right? And you put that pin in the front and you can end up coming back to your feet, or you can end up going and having to chip over from 4T basically, right? So what did you guys do there? Obviously, it feels like you can hit it miles left, but that's not the play because it makes the green harder, right? So you guys, when you were hitting driver, you were attacking it up the right, and then I think it was round 1, right? You guys played hybrid off the tee or 7 wood?
Yeah, round 1 we laid up, and then round 2 we hit driver. And round 2 I was in a great position, and then I had I can't remember how far, it was a shorter wedge shot, and it obviously with that pin, it's just such a hard shot, but we managed to get it past the pin and just put ourselves in good place. But all depends on the hole location. If you want a full wedge, and I definitely think closer is a little better, just because it's a shorter shot and you can put it in the middle of the green better if you don't want to attack it compared to 150-yard shot. But you know, we laid out the first day and then hit driver the second day.
It was good. I mean, AJ, when he decided to take driver the second day, the only day, right, I got to walk inside the ropes was in those scouting trips or Sunday, which is obviously why Sunday's amazing, and we'll get back to why Sunday was even better when we were closing the day, hanging out on the putting green with Tiger Woods and Fred Ridley, just having a few laughs. But when he pulled driver on Friday morning in kind of the crappy weather, I was like, all right, this guy's ready to play golf.
Yeah, it was cool. He trusted himself, hit a great shot. Yeah, it was great, man. The whole thing was great.
Yeah. Number 4 is probably one of my favorite holes in terms of par 3s out there. I think it's underrated. Obviously, 12 and 16 get all the hype. 6 is probably just impossible in that back right location. But Aaron, you made an up and down on 4 that I still think could be in the highlights of the best up and downs in the history of that tournament on that hole. You hit it long right, downhill live from the rough, and you guys just figured out how to hit this amazing, like, I don't know how you got the spin on the wedge, and you walk out of there with par. It was remarkable.
Yeah, I think it was like 178 or 180 or something like that, and the wind was kind of off the left into, and the pin was way right, and hit the 6-iron. I pured this shit straight through the wind, and the wind didn't touch it, and it lands like past the pin, hops up. I think it goes in the pine straw, not even the rough. So
yeah, that's right.
And I'm like chopping it. I'm like, what are we gonna do to make par? And I managed to leave it short of the pin, got through the rough, and made like a 12-footer left to right down the hill for par. And that was a big putt for me because I started off with like 4 pars in a row and kind of got the round settled down after the first round. And yeah, that was a cool up and down for sure.
Yeah, I think everyone talks about it's really hard to win your first time that you go to Augusta. I can't imagine what it felt like the first round playing. I mean, this is your first professional event, is the greatest major in golf, and you're playing on the biggest stage. Happened to be that year, right? Tiger comes back. Like, there was a lot going on that the 2022 Masters was like hyped, and then even more hyped. And you did well on Thursday, but I think Friday really showed that when and if you get that opportunity again, you have the ability to really play well at Augusta.
Yeah, that Thursday was nerve-wracking. I actually hit it better than I thought I did. Like, I was in decent positions off the tee. I just missed it in the wrong places. And then from there, I was so nervous chipping and putting. There was like 500 people right next to me, next to the green. I'm trying to chip, and I'm just like, I can't even feel my hands. I'm like, don't blade it. Like, that's running through my mind. And because the greens are so fast and firm, it's like when you're in the wrong spot. I mean, it was hole 5, the par 3, back right
6.
pin. I flag it. 6. I flag it. It was over the green. You're just dead. And I chip it down, and I 3-putt for double. It's like, well, here we go. This is Augusta. Welcome. So.
Yeah, and I would say, AJ, you probably have it better because I was outside the ropes there, but watching it from where I was trying to always be behind the tee and move patrons out of the way if they didn't have their famous chairs in my way. But he hit such a good shot there, and I think that adrenaline is just hard to understand, right? And it goes over. Who knew it was going to come out of that rough like that, right? I thought you even hit a good chip.
I did.
Yeah, I mean, there was just no room. There's no room for error when they put that pin back there, and we had a perfect number.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a perfect number, and he flushed it. He can't hit a better golf shot, right? And he's probably like literally 2 paces away from having one of the better birdie looks of the day, and then makes a pretty easy double. I mean, it's just like the margin for error on some of those shots is so small.
Yeah, no doubt. And then obviously Friday, you hit it long again to that left pin below the flag, but you hit it long, and then you get it up and down, and probably one of the loudest roars ever in 2022 was had there. I think your guy Woody from the Cayman Islands just started screaming, come on, son, right? And everyone's going crazy. I thought we were getting kicked out. The guy's walking around Augusta National with a Target bag filled with drinks and whatever else, and he's just screaming. I think there was like expletive, come on, son. And that was a moment. You definitely redeemed yourself on number 6 with that up and down. 7 was, 7 is an interesting hole, right? Way tighter than it looks. Everyone loves that hole, and I think the tee shot's harder, one of the harder tee shots, just because visually it's intimidating looking at number 3 and seeing the tree line. But when they put that flag on the left, like what in the hell do you do to try and access that flag? What did you guys do when there was that left flag? I mean, you made birdie one day, didn't you?
I birdied. I can't remember I birdied
Friday.
the second. I can't remember where the pin was.
Kind of right on the top of that ridge, right?
Middle back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Beautiful.
first off, that hole is just that's tight. Like, people don't understand. Like, it's like 20 yards wide, and you miss the fairway. It's one, you're in the trees, and you're just going to struggle to put it in the right place to get up and down. So you got to hit that fairway, and then from there, it's just trying to give yourself the best possible look on the green.
Yeah, it was amazing, right? And that behind 7 and between 7 and 8, there's those trees where all the members hang out, and there's all the green jackets. And to see you make that birdie there after coming off of the par save on 6, that was just like, wow. And I think that energy just continued to build throughout the tournament. AJ, I was listening to DJ's brother was talking about number 8 and just said that his only hope is that no one hits it in the bunker on 8, because once you rake that bunker, going up the hill is like it's one of the hardest cardiovascular workouts you've ever had. And I think it's underrated, but you guys found that bunker. So why don't you walk us through a little bit of what number 8 was like, and then raking that bunker and trying to get that bag up the hill and not run out of breath.
Yeah, he actually laid up pretty good from there. I was carrying a college bag, so at least I didn't have, the big old staff bag. But I was fine. I mean, I was good. You know, I
He's
felt,
been
I,
working.
but he laid it up well there one day, and then the other day topped it. I mean, remember that, Aaron? He like topped a 3-wood or something trying to
Yeah,
lay up.
yeah. That three
And,
top wasn't as bad. It kind of got up there a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
that one was rough.
you had looks both days, right? Yeah, good looks. I feel like there. Definitely had a good look on Friday.
I bogeyed it Friday. I hit a poor wedge shot and missed the green and couldn't get up and down from a simple chip. And I had a good look first day on that hole. But out there, you got to just, I mean, the par fives, you got to par the par threes and birdie the par fives and,
Well, you took a different approach, right? You parred the par fives and just birdied every damn par three out there, which we'll get to here in a minute. But it's pretty crazy when you think about the leaderboard, the grandstand, and the way that eighth hole feels. It's kind of hard to figure out that wind. I know I'm not giving you an excuse for that poor wedge, but it is a weird section because it's obviously the highest point on the entire golf course. You're up there and you're just looking around, and it's like, it's a good one. But number 9, right? Number 9, we got some funny stories about your dad's hat blowing out onto the middle of the green and getting on TV trying to get his hat. But besides that, in the prep, you did a lot of practice of that putt that no one really understands, but like you almost have to putt it towards the pro shop to get it to take the ridge and go down. Like, so hard for TV to show how slopey that is, but that's a hard hole.
Yeah, so first off, yesterday I'm just chilling on my couch, have live from the Masters, and they show my dad's hat just going across the green. I was like, I can't believe that happened, because no one else knows my dad's hat besides us.
Unbelievable,
right?
man.
My
and that
dad
lets you know how windy it was that day, right?
It was howling.
Yeah.
And hole 9, I mean, Augusta, I think, honestly, length is crucial. The longer you hit it, I think is just the better off you're going to be, because hole 9, if you can rip it down there and have a shorter wedge shot, it helps you a lot. And because there's 3 tiers, so you got to be able to put on the right tier out there on hole 9.
Yeah, having that downhill hanging lie to this green that obviously, yes, there's a bunker there, but missing right is just, you might as well write 5 on the scorecard and walk away, right? So what did you do, AJ, there to kind of help him navigate 9? Because you guys played it really well.
Well, he hit it over there right one day, and we had to kind of pitch out to probably 50, 60 yards. And he hit one of the sickest little, like, nipper wedge shots to about 3 feet, and the crowd was, like, very impressed. I mean, they gave him some love on that shot. And it was a great shot, but he went up there and like just tapped it in basically. And I mean, that was huge at that moment. That was huge.
Yeah, that was Thursday, right? When he hit that, or was it Friday where he hit the nipper?
It was Friday.
Yeah, it was Friday because we had some momentum. Or we needed momentum basically, and that was like huge.
Yeah, and obviously, in those scouting trips, I just loved walking from 9 to 10 because we got to see our buddy there with the beverage cart that has everything that you can imagine. And if they don't have what you want, they'll go and get it for you in true Augusta fashion. But 10T, pretty cool. Hole 10, probably going to take some time talking about some stories on hole 10. So, not your favorite tee shot. Wouldn't say we ever hit the tee shot we wanted in the tournaments, so to speak. You never really played from down there on the left where everybody makes 10 look so easy. A couple times in the scouting trip, we were hitting wood into the hole, right? I think it must have been crazy windy that day or something. But that hole is hard. You didn't really play that hole amazing in the tournament, but probably 2 of the greatest memories for me from that tournament happened on hole 10, right? So I'll let you go first because your story is probably more enjoyable for the fan to listen to, and mine is just selfishly going to make fun of your brother. So, number 10, Sunday afternoon, we're playing. I think James Piot ends up joining us, right? And then we can't figure out going from 9 to 10 why there's so many people, right? It's like freaking what the hell is going on, right? And it's Sunday, so the only people that are allowed out there, I think, are drive, chip, and putt kids can only hang out around 9 and 10 members, but it still felt busy. And walk us through what happened, because you made an impulsive decision there on Sunday on 10.
Yeah, there's a few stories. So we'll start on Sunday. We played the front nine with James Piot, and then we go to the back nine. And Tiger shows up right in front of us. You know, he goes out there by himself, and, you know, me and James are talking like, damn, this would be a very cool experience if we can try and play with Tiger, you know, for 9 holes on a Sunday before the Masters. So we go down there and we're playing, and next thing you know, like, I'm like, I gotta go for this. I mean, why not, right? A no from Tiger is probably it's better no than from a smoke show hot girl, you know what I mean? So go down there, and I like didn't even putt out. I just ran straight through the woods, and Tiger's like walking down 11. I'm like, hey, Tiger, Mr. Woods, can we play with you? And me and the USAM champ, and he's like, I'm just gonna play by myself on this 9, and it was, you know, fair, you know, it's Tiger, he wants to play by himself, but yeah, it's still a cool moment. And then after that 9, I went up to him again, and on the putting green, it was just me and him, and we got a good conversation in for about 20-25 minutes. And the next day comes, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, probably the Monday. We played with Taylor Gooch, and then Taylor went off and did his own thing, and I go to the back 9. Me and AJ are like, why are there so many people? Like a lot of people just show up. Brooks Koepka just comes in and is like, can I play with you? I'm like, sure. Yeah. And then had a great 9 holes with Brooks Koepka on that back 9 too. So you could tell the Andrew, the brother story.
Yeah, well, Brooks had so much fun with you that day. I remember him coming up to us on the range and saying, hey, bro, I signed up with you for the par 3, right? You had already written your name down. Obviously, it was empty when Brooks got there, and he's like, yo, man, I signed up with you on the par 3. I don't even know, like, if there were words that came out of any of our mouths, but just were like, okay, that's going to be pretty sick. Like, we're going to get to hang out with you and Jenna at the par 3. Like, yeah, let's do it, right? That was pretty good. But 10, weather. Obviously, this year we're going to have a little bit of weather too. But we had a little rain Wednesday and then a little bit of rain on Thursday. To say you weren't playing your best on the front 9 was a little bit of an understatement. So I think the crow's nests were flowing pretty hard. I feel like Ian and your brother made a deal, like every bogey they were going to drink a beer, and the cups were just stacked up pretty high. And Andrew had gone in to grab a couple more crow's nests at the turn. Coming down 10's very, very steep and muddy. And there's so many patrons from the first 4 days just walk in. The place is a mess. And we're going, and as it starts to get steep around 225, 230 out, one of the little guys that's like sitting on the ropes goes, watch out, man, it's pretty slippery. And your brother kind of looks at him like, whatever, dude, like, you don't need to say anything. And he's got 2 beers, and, well, here's a crow's nest. So he's holding the beer like this. He slips, pours the beer all over himself like this, right? Looks like JT chugging it at the basketball game the other night. And then he goes sliding down the hill. No bullshit. He went 20 yards.
He went 20 yards. You just see this guy just going 20 yards. He got mud all over himself.
And you had a really good crowd of people with you, which was cool, right? And everyone that was there, right? Peyton, myself, Ian, your brother obviously laying there on the ground. And now all the patrons are looking at this guy. And Peyton just starts hilariously laughing. Your brother stands up, doesn't say a word, wipes himself off, starts hoofing it back up the hill. And we have no idea where Andrew's going. Lo and behold, he went to the parking lot, try and wash himself off, try and figure out what was going on. But Slippy McSlipster there going down number 10 will forever be one of my greatest memories. And every time I see the 10th hole, I just laugh. So that was an amazing story. And seeing you try and play with Tiger was incredible. You actually hit some good short game shots around that hole. You obviously had a fair amount of them that you had to do, but It was great. I think 10's underrated hole. I think it's definitely gettable if you had to do that again. And when you see the tournament, it feels like you got to get one at 10 because 11's just impossible, right? 11, I had no idea. Like that hill again, and going up to the hill is going up to the tee, and you feel like you're in the middle of, I don't even know, you feel like you're all the way out at Washington Avenue when you get up on that tee. And 11 is just one of those holes. I think of like John Rahm chipping around with you in one of the practice rounds, just explaining, hey, the goal is not to hit the green, buddy. The goal is to miss the green right, yeah? And you guys did a good job of putting the ball in the correct place on 11 to give yourself some good up and downs. But that back hole location, I think it was Thursday or whatever, was a scary shot, right?
It's just like that year they added 25 more yards to that tee, and it's way back there in the woods. And I mean, obviously the longer guys on tour are going to still have 7-6 iron in, but like if you don't get one down there, you're having 5-4 iron in to that hole, and with that green you got to miss it right. And it's a very beast of a hole, I'll tell you that.
AJ, 11's a unique one for you as the caddy, right? Because you're trying to take in the 11th hole, but you're also trying to take in what the hell's about to happen on 12. And for Aaron's tournament, I think number 12 is probably the most impressive thing I've ever seen, right? He, cumulatively, I think he had 7.5 feet for putts on 12. So obviously you as the caddy, what did you do and how did you get the information to get that wind right on a hole that's just so challenging? I mean, you guys birdie the most iconic par 3 in golf both times, both being your first Masters. Like, I know you get Crystal at Augusta for getting an eagle, but shit, man, they should send you guys something because I don't think anybody else in the tournament birdied it both days.
Yeah, dude, I was so dialed in with those numbers on that.
Yeah, right.
You get to like 11 and, you just come off like a tough number 10. And I'm just literally sitting there like praying that he hits the fairway. Because like if you hit the fairway on 11, you can actually play that. And like the way that second shot sets up, it's actually like pretty good for us because he can bail out right all day long. And like if he pulls off the perfect shot, like he's going to have a birdie putt. But you get over to 12, there's so much going on. You can already feel the wind. You already know where the wind's going to be. You can already kind of see a few other guys play the hole. Yeah. So you kind of have a good feel for it. I think too, like at UNLV at Shadow Creek, number 17, like it's a kind of a similar feel. And you have to be so committed. You know what I mean? Like if I say it's 154, like you just have to hit it. The pin may actually be 47, but we're going to play these 7 yards of wind. Like we just have to trust it. And I think Aaron hit those shots with just so much conviction, and he loves the crowd, obviously, so having everyone sit there and watch him hit that shot, I think he grows in that moment. Like he gets the best out of himself the more people are there cheering him on. And we just had perfect numbers. We weren't first on the box either, so we kind of got to see another shot, which helps. But he throws 2 darts in there. But yeah, I really think I was just dialed in. I was just really dialed in on that hole.
So, because very few people get to walk past that tee, right? That's where they keep the rope. And the only time that I got to walk past that was on Sunday or in one of the scouting trips. But it's pretty hard to explain, but if you guys could try, how many people does it feel like are standing directly on top of your head while you're trying to go through all that? The wind, the green is what? 7 paces wide at most, right? They put that pin where Aaron almost makes a hole in one. I think it's only 4 paces wide. How many people in the noise behind you? Is it overwhelming? Obviously it wasn't overwhelming because you still hit great shots. Or maybe it was that noise that allowed you guys to focus in. How many people did it feel like?
To me, it probably felt like there was 10,000 people sitting on that hill, like just staring at you. But it's super quiet. At least I felt like it was quiet. You could hear, you could never hear it. Everyone's so involved in what's going on with the golf. Like it was dead silent. That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah, you make an amazing point, AJ. That's the greatest thing about Augusta is the golf course, right? And the aura of the place. But maybe in the top 5 is the fact that there's no cell phones. So everyone's talking about golf. Everyone's engaged in golf. People are making friends just because they're hanging out and watching the same player for multiple holes. Everyone's polite, right? As the coach trying to watch Aaron play, and then we have this entourage of people. Because they knew we were with Aaron, people literally just moved out of the way. And they said, oh, go ahead. Go right up. I never felt like I couldn't see golf because people were so respectful of, oh, wow, you know Aaron? Yes, we'll move out of the way. Tell us the story about Aaron. And then obviously he hits those 2 shots. I mean, Thursday's shot was very, very good. Friday's shot was another level. And then you kind of harnessed the behavior and the attitude that I think AJ was coaching you the entire week to have, which is I belong and enjoy the moment and embrace it, as AJ said. But we'll link up in the YouTube the video of you and maybe some of the audio of what they said, right? But you walk off that tee and just kind of walk us through. I know it doesn't go through your head, but all of a sudden you're pumping up the crowd and those tens of thousands of people are now all cheering. I think there was like people screaming like your name, let's go Cayman Islands, let's go UNLV, go Rebel. Like it was madness when you hit that shot.
Yeah, so first off, I think like coming off of 11 and you walk up, I think the reason why I probably hit better shots than others was just because I was like, you see the people, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. Instead of like, wow, I'm really nervous. I was just like, this is just, I mean, like AJ said, it was probably 10,000 people. I was like, wow, this is sick. Like, it doesn't get much better than this. And, you know, it's only like 150 yards. And if there was no one out there, it's like a standard shot with a pitching wedge or 9-iron. And you still got to hit your number. But when it's in the moment, right? And you get up there and you're just like, you have to just step up and hit your shot. You got to commit to it. If not, then obviously the ball can go in the water or whatnot. But yeah, the first day I think was I don't know, it might have been a harder shot than the second day, because the first day it was howling dead into, and I hit a 7-iron and it went up in the wind, and they have a video of it, and the commentator, and he was just saying it needed to go, and it got there to like 7 feet, but I think I hit a 7-iron from like 150. And then the second day, coming off 11, I believe I bogeyed it or parred it, but I had a very good number. Hit a great 8-iron, perfect number. Wind was calm when I hit that, and it went to 2 feet, and kind of had to hype up the crowd a little bit. You know, everyone's looking at me like, because there's no phones, they're like, who's this 19-year-old kid from the Cayman Islands playing the Masters? Like, what is he doing here? And, you know, try and get the crowd involved a little bit.
Yeah, and you were playing great that day, right? You obviously made an unfortunate double on 10, but the rest of the day was very impressive. And then you hype up the crowd, and it just felt like in that moment, I don't think you're thinking of it, but you know that like at some point you're not going to get to play Augusta anymore that week, and you just really embraced it, and you go on and you do so many amazing things coming in. But seeing you hit that shot, I can't imagine the conversations, right? Walking across that bridge when no one can hear you. I'm sure you guys are having some funny jokes about, hey, we did this. But in one of our scouting trips, I think I have a video of it. If I do, maybe Casey will toss it in. But you actually were saying, hey, this is for a birdie in the tournament, and you fist pumped like crazy in our scouting trip. It is like, yeah, right? And I think it was because we hadn't hit the green like any other time we'd been there. But then you do that, and it was amazing, right? But probably the coolest place to stand as a player in caddy is 13T, right? You're all by yourself. There's no patrons. It's just you, right? And that unique vista back there is amazing. There's an amazing little bathroom on the left-hand side when you come across that bridge that I felt like every single time I was allowed to walk inside the ropes, I went there. Maybe we need to share that with John Rahm, that there's a bathroom over there, so he knows there's enough bathrooms out there. But 13, pretty difficult hole. Never had a chance to go for it. One day you even played it from 14T. You played an approach shot, right?
Yeah, I hit that second shot so far right. Me and AJ were just shouting forward. The whole crowd's moving from 14. It was a mess. But I obviously I could have played that hole a little better, but it was pretty funny in the moment.
You hit a good shot from the crosswalk.
Yeah, that was a good shot. Yeah.
Imagine trying to get that number from that crosswalk.
So, I mean,
all over the place.
I don't know. I don't even know
sitting
how
out
you
there-
did. Did you
sitting out
get
there,
the
like,
number, or
doing
was it kind of?
geometry?
Yeah.
I kind of said, Aaron, I think it's 104 yards, but you feel it out.
And he did, right? He
That is
did.
fair. I'm way over there. I gotta feel this one out at this point.
Yeah, I think 13 is one that gets a lot of hype on TV, but it's way harder than it looks, right? Like, obviously everyone thinks it's a par 5 and you just lay up, but it's a tricky little layup, right? Like, trying to get the number to be short of the creek, but to have the right distance in, to be able to spin it. I don't know why. Do you guys feel that green's like harder than the other ones, or just doesn't spin?
It's not an easy green. Like,
like physically harder. Does it seem like it doesn't respond, or is it just because you're hitting such like a little dead arms wedge in there that it doesn't spin?
I think it's definitely more firm than other greens, just because it feels so soft. Then everyone would just be throwing darts with 5-irons, right? And they don't. Obviously, you see very close shots, but you don't see a shot just land and stop, right? So I think they probably made it a little more firm. And when you have a short wedge shot, and say you hit in trees, you got to lay up, or it's just a bad number, you got to really figure out how to get the ball close.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good one. The green was hard to get reads on, don't you think, AJ? It's like one of those ones where it's like there's subtle little breaks. Everyone says it breaks towards the creek, but does it really break towards the creek? I mean, what's your perspective trying to get reads on that green?
Yeah, I remember seeing like a bunch of caddies out there really scouting out that green, and players spending a little extra time in their practice rounds. It seems like there's always photos coming out of practice rounds of guys on that green with their yardage book in one hand, putter or ball in another hand. I don't know. I think it's just one of those greens where your speed has to be so good, because there's not a flat place where they can really put that pin. And if your speed is perfect, you can kind of get those subtle breaks to help you out. But if not, I think it's going to hurt.
Yeah, no doubt. Go ahead, Aaron.
I remember on that whole John Rahm was we talked for like 10 minutes just about the greens and where it's going and where to miss it. I remember that pretty well. It's just we were on that green for quite a while. Yeah,
and let's take a little bit of a detour here. We'll get to the final few holes, but you got to play with a lot of cool people, right? And a lot of those people, I think you guys built relationships with, right? Like, I think AJ, you and Adam became really good friends, like just kind of walking around there, because caddy to caddy is different than sometimes player to player. But it seemed like no matter who we played with or you guys played with, I was just walking around drinking crow's nest. But you guys seem to build relationships with a lot of guys. You walk us through some of the guys you played with. I think of the reason why I pause is because I think of you walking down 14 with Joaquin Neiman, looking at some turtle TikTok video in the middle of the fairway. Like, you just vibed with these guys, and you guys just fit in, right? So who'd we play practice rounds with? Kind of what do they stand? I know we played a couple holes with Brooks, but also, like, Brooks didn't play with you in that scouting trip. You were like, hey, how come he didn't play with me? And then you go and you hit a fairway wood to like 10 feet in the scouting trip and make the putt. And then you look up at 16 and we're like, should have played with me, buddy. But who were some of those standouts that you played with? Or that you got to hang out with AJ too? Because obviously different perspective from the two of you guys.
Yeah, I played with Brooks, 9 holes, Taylor Gooch, and then got to play with Rahm. It was going to be me, Sergio, and because I had dinner with Sergio at the amateur dinner. He had to tie my tie. That's a whole nother story.
Come on, tell it. What the hell? Tell a story. You're telling us there you went to Augusta National for an amateur dinner, and you had to have a former Masters champion tie your tie.
Yeah, me and James PR just like by one of like the smaller bars that are in the clubhouse by the locker room, and we just like we were dressed up, but we just have this tie just laying around, and all the guys working there like they don't know how to fix it either. So we're waiting. It's like 5 minutes before the dinner, and Sergio comes by, and we're like, Sergio, can you please tie our tie? He ties our ties, and then we go on. I sat with him at dinner, and then he told me to come out at 8 a.m. and play with him and Walkie Neiman, and then in the morning, John Round asked me and the guys like, can I join? I was like, yes, please. And then played 9 holes with them. And then on hole 14, Walkie Neiman just pulls out like his phone, shows Sergio a video of like some turtle stupidness. I can't even. It was messed up. But then he showed me, and I bust out laughing, and that kind of got me calmed down a little bit, and just knowing that these guys are still out here having fun. It was like a turtle having sex with another turtle or some shit.
Yeah. Unbelievable. And AJ, for you, these guys that you end up getting to play with, right? Like I think of, there was a practice round, I don't know if it was the Wednesday or what, with Christian Butenhazen, and his caddy was like ultra into it. Seemed like he had a lot of experience, but seemed like all these other caddies and even the players were willing to give you advice and get to know you too.
Yeah, I mean, I think they all understood, like, you know, why we were there and what Aaron had done to get there, and that he's an amateur in this field. And I think that makes the other pros more inclined to want to help, right? Yeah. Because they just want to see Aaron succeed. And yeah, everyone was great to me. I mean, I had a blast. Obviously, I was out there to work. Like I said, I want to make Aaron's job as easy as possible. Like, his job is to execute shots. My job is to learn as much as I can to help him, you know, make that seem easy. I remember walking down 10 with Ricky Brooks's caddy, Ricky Elliott, and we're walking down, and he says, "Hey, don't say anything stupid about your wife because I'm mic'd up for Netflix." I just thought that was
no way.
Fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
you know, because we were gonna share that walk down. You know, Aaron and Brooks were behind us chatting, and we were gonna walk down, and he just says, "Hey, don't say anything stupid about your wife because I'm mic'd up for Netflix."
That's amazing. That's amazing. And you got to hang out. Obviously, Augusta is interesting. They put the coaches in that little shack to the left of the caddy shack. There can only be one coach allowed on the tee at a time. You're only allowed out on the driving range when your player's there. And if your player's there, you're required to be there. But the caddy shack is like no other caddy shack on tour, right? There's kegs, and there's guys that have been there for feels like 100 years that, you know, they're ripping like 900 darts out the back of the shack. And then there's guys like yourself that get the opportunity to learn from those guys. So what was it like in that caddy shack? Obviously, I want to know what it's like in the suit, but more importantly, what was it like in the caddy shack?
The caddy shack was amazing, man. It was like, I mean, even those, you know, that day that Aaron teed off late, I still wanted to get out there early. And you can just sit there in that caddy shack and you can just feel the history in the place, right? I thought it was kind of unique that only the winning caddy gets to keep his suit. Found that out. The food in there was great. All the sandwiches you could ever want. Like you said, they had a keg in there. You could sit right on like kind of the patio with a cup of coffee as the sun's coming up and watch guys warming up for their rounds, you know, while you're doing your pins for the day or whatever. It was just the most beautiful way to like start your day. And then, the caddy shack is always just kind of a place where you can go and kind of be yourself and pull out your cell phone, and they had the coverage running, and to get into conversations with some of the caddies is hysterical. I mean, they're some of the best people on this planet. They've got some of the best stories, and also some of the hardest working people that you're going to find. But that caddy shack was great. I remember just going back and forth. I did find it fun, not funny, but I guess unique that if Aaron's going to be practicing, I have to be there. Yeah. Right. Like, he can't just go out and hit a couple 7-irons with you. Like, I have to be out there and I have to be dressed out. to walk out there. So I think that's awesome, right? But not something
it's
you
pretty
find anywhere
cool.
else.
I think sometimes I think the tradition is like the caddy, but I think at Augusta they give a caddy this elevated experience, right? Because the caddy is basically the sign to say what player is on the tee. So you're always there with the white suit and the white strap across the back with the green lettering, and everyone knows it's Aaron Jarvis because there's AJ with Jarvis across his back. Like, it is just such a cool thing, and I think it's awesome that those guys shared so many stories with you, and some of the guys that were even on our scouting trip. I think of, the local caddies that we got to take, right? And that's a requirement on those scouting trips, is you have to take an Augusta National caddy because they have to be your tour guide. And in reality, they really were our tour guide, not just for the golf course, right? Because that's kind of, the three of us could figure that out. We feel like we know what we're doing, but it was more the history of Augusta, the stories of Augusta. It was better than any documentary I could ever watch. Just walking those 72 holes with Kip and hearing him tell me crazy stories while he's walking around in his white Crocs and sneaking Bud Lights or whatever he was doing. It was pretty amazing. So 14, the whole, besides the turtle experience there, the thing that stands out to me is I felt like 14 was when Siwoo Kim's caddy got fired. That was quite a moment, right? I never heard so many F words in my life. I've seen the putter thrown around. Like, that was wild. And I think Siwoo's awesome, and I think he's doing an amazing job with Camilo's brother on the bag now, and I think that's a good fit. I think Manny does a really good job managing Siwoo's emotions, but it definitely was not managed Friday on 14. But that is a freaking hard hole. They put that pin back left, and there's like literally no place to land it. They put it front right, and you might as well feel like you're going to chip from the pine straw because the ball just rolls everywhere. Very typical of Augusta, you guys think, that it's a second shot hole? I mean, I know the tee shot isn't as easy for you, Aaron, because you got to kind of draw it around the corner, but you could take it up the left. But that second shot, AJ, how are you finding the number? And are you trying to land it and stop it, or are you having to play with like it's going to land and then take this big bounce?
Well, I think that green kind of gets sectioned off, so it's really like 3 greens in one, right? Like, depending on where they put the pin. And Aaron knew that. From the fairway, you can actually kind of attack it because you're going to have an 8-iron, 9-iron. But from the right trees, 210 front, it's a tough hole.
Yeah. It's definitely a tough hole. He had a pretty good shot out of the trees one day. It was nice.
I think I was practicing. I remember I blasted this thing so far right, and I didn't even want to go for it, right? And then the crowd, I kind of went over, and the crowd was like hyping me up, and they wanted to see me punch it out. And then I went over there, and it was far in there, and I like punched it out, and they were like cheering me on. But hole 14 it's a tough hole, but it's a standard hole. Like, there's not much going on. Like, yeah, the greens, there's 3 tiers, but it's fairly straight. Everything's in front of you. You just got to hit 2 shots. And
yeah, it's one where you feel like you kind of can start to feel like, hey, we can get this golf course now. Are you guys standing? I'm not saying you're going in the future, but you got 14, 15, 16. Like, you feel like those are ones you want to get, right?
Yeah, it's not a crazy hard. It's a hard hole, but it's fairly straightforward. And it's like, okay, well, it's right in front of me. If you hit 2 good shots, you're going to get a good look at birdie. So,
yeah. And speaking of birdies, we'll get to the 16th, but 15 is amazing, right? And pretty cool how tight. And I almost felt claustrophobic back there with the patrons that are watching 10, and then the patrons that are trying to sneak and watch 11, patrons trying to watch 14. And it's still back in that corner. The thing that surprises me is how no one really even knows that there's a road there. And they do such a good job at Augusta of kind of like hiding all the access and where they have tunnels and how they move people. But there is legit a road there, and I don't think I've ever seen it in any coverage, but there's a road right there, and it feels like a straight down drop off from the back of 15T to that road. 15, did you guys feel like you could go for it, or is never going to be a go for it, always going to lay up type hole?
Well, if I hit better tee shots, you could have decided to go for it. But I think actually, with the weather, not many people went for it Thursday, Friday. It's just a fact. I hit one a little bit left, not way in the trees. It was like left fairway, laid up because if you hit it more left, the trees come into play. Then I hit one like right fairway, and I had like 280. So they're both into the wind, so we both just laid up and played that hole fairly decent.
Yeah, AJ, where were you trying to have him lay up? Because I think everyone knows, hey, let's go for it in 2, or they think of the Nike commercial with Tiger chipping in, but like that layup is not easy. There's not a flat lie to lay up unless you go basically all the way over to the bridge on the left. So where were you guys trying to lay up?
Well, we had a sprinkler head kind of circled in our book that was on that left-hand side, but just far enough back from that tree, you know, where if you kind of get behind it, you can still get your wedge over it. And I think that was maybe like the 83 front head, if I remember right. I remember we had to lay up kind of far back though one day, like behind where the crosswalk was. But which ended up kind of being fine because we were on a little bit of a downslope there to a back flag, and he was able to just kind of land one short that we knew would kind of skip up and get back there.
Yeah, I mean, you hit a great shot from there, right?
Yeah.
It's a cool.
So I think with the pin being back there, laying up on the downslope can actually help you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you don't have to worry about spin.
Yeah, it's one of those other ones where standing up there, maybe not from where you're ever playing a shot, but kind of as you're 100 yards or 80 yards away from your tee shot, you're looking at 18, you're looking at 17, you're looking all the way down at the stands on 6, you're seeing 16. It's like you're seeing so much of the golf course there, and it seems definitely one of those cool places where you get to see so much of the course. The grandstands on both sides of that green are amazing, but 16 is probably the only other place on the golf course where thousands of people go. And you can't get a spot behind the 16th tee. You can't get a spot on the left-hand side to be able to look at the green. I mean, wild, right? And then just you guys take it over, because I was just standing behind the ropes, but I want to hear about 16. All I'll say to preface this is I think there's probably like 19 TP5s in the 16th lake from just the times that I walked around the golf course with Aaron in the practice days. Never hit the green. And then you guys go on to do what you do on 16 is just ridiculous. So you want to talk Thursday first, or you want to go straight to the Magic on Friday?
We got to start with the practice round and the skips. I think.
Okay, I didn't know if AJ wanted to talk about it.
It was me, Adam Scott, and
Garrick Higo. Garrick Higo.
Oh, and we did a skip, and that was cool. Just doing the skip with those guys, and then I think it was I don't know what day it was that AJ tried and didn't even. I feel like
Adam Scott was there the day you tried, right, AJ?
Yeah, it was that day. I hit a shot. I hit a skip shot with Garrick Higo. He's a lefty, so he's on the other side. I did it righty. Now, I did have a torn labrum in my shoulder, right? So, but that shouldn't have affected my ability to skip a 5-iron over the lake. I don't know. Maybe I just got like the bad shot out of the way for us or something, but I just straight hoselled one into the crowd. And my brother Tad was standing over there. He actually got the ball. He still has the ball.
That is, I mean, how far down 17 did he have to go to find that ball?
No, it skipped. Like it actually skipped. I shanked it, and it still skipped twice, and then skipped out of the water straight into the crowd.
Into the crowd. So
it was actually like a pretty clean shank, really.
It's pretty cool tradition, and to see you guys at that time, right? You're the head coach at UNLV. It's all these UNLV guys just standing there. It was pretty awesome experience. I know the shank wasn't amazing, but we saw some good skips. feel like John Rahm did a really nice skip. Sergio's skip, whatever. Aaron, how are your skips?
They were decent, actually.
They were dry.
They got over, because that's a big deal, right? Like, if people go to the practice round, they want to see a couple things, right? They want to see Amen Corner, and they want to go and see players and caddies skip it on 16. There's been hole-in-ones from the skip. There's been guys that shank it from the skip. And Aaron, you're saying both, or maybe you did it 3-4 times, I feel like. Was it something you did every time you came to 16? Did the patrons bully you into skipping it every time?
I think every time you play it, they just want you to do it. They like start as soon as you walk off the tee, they're like, "Oh, is he gonna do it? Is he not?" And they're like trying to hype you up. And I'm gonna do it every single time. I don't care. So I think I just got good practice at it, doing it a long time.
I remember for you, AJ, right, that you guys weren't going to do it, and then they convinced you to do it, and then it was one of those, right? It was amazing.
Cool for me. It was cool for me that day because Adam Scott, Garrett Higo, and Aaron are obviously all UNLV guys, and the 3 UNLV guys that were playing that week. So it was cool to get to, and I have a video of it on my phone of those 3 guys skipping it over the lake, and that was like, at that time, that was a pretty proud coach moment, right? Because I played at UNLV, now coaching at UNLV, I get to see 3 other UNLV guys, including Aaron, who I recruited to UNLV, and I'm it was just like a full circle, like kind of proud coach moment.
Yeah, no doubt. And that entire week, I can say you made UNLV proud, right? You had the little UNLV sneaking out of the caddy bib. Everywhere I went, there was someone with a UNLV hat or shirt. It was awesome. So yeah, even though maybe you think you shanked it, you made your entire school proud there. But then Friday, Stuart Sink makes a hole-in-one. Aaron's doing what he's doing on 15. I think you might have even, did you birdie 15 or you just missed that putt?
No, I parked 15 both days.
So just missed birdie on 15, go to 16, crowd everywhere. You've already hit an amazing shot on 12 that I think Mark Immelman called it as the shot of the day. He even said the shot of the day, right? And then you get to 16. Just walk us through it. The crowd's already going crazy because Stuart Sink made a hole-in-one. You obviously are not the first to play since you made par on par 5. So what are you guys doing? You're talking through the number.
Yeah, so I'm last to play, and we're on 5th. Well, I was last to play on 16, but on 15, we're on the green, and I can't remember if it was green or in the fairway, and Stuart Sink has a hole-in-one right in front of us. Just a crowd goes crazy, and I'm just like telling AJ after I make par, and I'm like, I want to make a hole-in-one. I mean, I think one of the guys that was with me, Woody, he said if that went in, he would jump in the water, and half my crew would have gone kicked out of Augusta, right? And then we step up, and we had a great number, 3/4 7-iron, and kind of saw it going a little to the right, and I'm like, well, that's fine, it's a miss, right? And then it just started coming down, and Zach Johnson, you can see on the video, Zach Johnson's like, he thought it was going in, and then he went like this, and it would have been cool if that went in, but to hit it to a foot on 16 was pretty cool.
I mean, we'll have the video up in case you'll play it slow, but it took a look. I mean, it was the entire way down. Everyone was screaming. There wasn't a person in that corner of the golf course that wasn't rooting for you guys to make a hole-in-one in that moment. It was wild. And so you birdie 12 both times, and you birdie 16. Like that's a pretty good thing to have at Augusta National, right? Not bad.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it was good. When we were walking off 15 green, like we had kind of already accepted that we were going to miss the cut, right? But like we still wanted to like finish strong, and you never know. You go like birdie, like hole 1 or make another birdie, or you never know. I mean, and he was kind of had that like that good fire, that Aaron gets sometimes, and that little bit of anger that actually allows him to play great golf. And he says, just tell me how far I need to hit it to make a 1. I'm making it, I'm pretty sure he was cussing at me, but he's like, I'm making a 1 here. And so I show him in the book, I was like, dude, you just hit it 177 yards, like right here, and it's going to go in. And like, he literally did it. So
That's amazing. That's amazing. I remember just everyone going crazy, and the whole group is separated at that point, right? Your mom and dad are walking somewhere else, your uncle's walking somewhere else, and then everyone somehow convenes around like the left-hand side, and everyone's just screaming, "It almost went in!" Like, and so the hype wasn't just for the shot; it kept going, and it was amazing. 17 tournament-wise, I mean, I think you played fine, but the story that I want to talk about on 17 is the day Tiger Woods said no to you playing golf. You hit it a little bit left off the tee. Take out that 7-wood that you guys decided to put in the bag, and you flush 7-wood at the 17th green. Wall the balls in the air. One of the caddies goes, "Yo, they're still on the green." And when they say they're still on the green, they meant Joe LaCava and Tiger Woods. So walk us through when you decided to hit into the big cat.
Man, I can't even I actually can't remember that one too much, but my heart just racing, just going crazy. And luckily, I don't think it came close to them, but it was definitely a nerve-wracking moment at that point, because I thought they were gone. We didn't see them at all.
They left their tees in the green, didn't they, AJ? They left, there was tee. When you guys got up there was tees. I just remember Aaron walking up and going sorry. And Joe's like, whatever. And Tiger's long gone, right? Doing his thing. But that was wild.
Yeah. I think we were just so far back there, we couldn't see the green, over the mound.
Yeah, it's another thing that people don't realize is you hit it a little bit left. You can't even see it. It's a blind shot with trees kind of blocking your way. That might have been, I mean, granted the 16th hole or the 12th hole had to be one of the best shots, but that was up there, right? For one of the best shots that he hit in the practice round. But then that shot obviously got you to talk to Tiger. So let's pause for a second and talk about that, right? You had to go up there after we finished the practice round, or you guys finished the practice round. You walk up, there's that little putting green, and you go up there to say sorry, and then what happens? You end up...
Yeah, so we were like, well, I need to apologize. And then I'm like to James PR, I'm like, do you want to come with me and try and talk to him? And he didn't want to do it. So I just went up, and then I apologized, and then we just kind of chit-chatted. It was just me and him at that point on the whole Augusta National, just me and Tiger just talking with Joe LaCava. And, we probably talked for 30 minutes, and it was something I remember forever.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. And at the end of that conversation, I think Fred Ridley decided to come over and have a conversation too. It was wild, right? There was Fred on the side of the green, and they say no cell phones, and I'm trying to figure out how can I get a picture of you guys talking to each other and Tiger, just surreal in that moment, right? We didn't even know if Tiger was going to play, right? That he still hadn't announced if he was going to play. Just crazy to think, right? And that story kind of got crazy, right? Amanda ends up asking you to talk about it. They ask about it in the media center. It was just one of those wild things. But seeing you Sunday night talking to Tiger Woods after him telling you no and then you hitting into him, just unbelievable, right? 18 maybe one of the most famous greens because that's what everyone thinks about, but is not an easy golf hole. That tee shot is pretty far back there. I know we just watched the Augusta Women's Amateur play, and they played pretty far forward. Where you are, that shoot's pretty narrow.
Oh, it's tight. It's probably 15 yards wide, just trees. You got to get through that gap, or else you're just looking at disaster. And the practice days, I just hit it in the trees every time, and then tournament comes around, and can't remember what I did on the Thursday, but the Friday I managed to smoke one down the middle, and it just sets you up for the rest of the hole, really. I mean, that tee shot is you have to hit it straight.
AJ, what are you saying to him before he tees off, right? Because it's obviously a tight hole. There are more patrons around that tee than anywhere else, and it almost, because the way they line the patrons up, it almost makes it feel like it's even tighter. Do you guys pick a target out there with the bunker, or what's the line off the tee?
Yeah, we're just trying to keep it left of the right trees, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, anywhere left of the right trees is pretty good. But I can't remember exactly what his thoughts were that week, but it's the same stuff. You know, I think he was just trying to be patient from the top and reminding him of that kind of stuff. But I mean, Aaron's playing it in the Masters, right? Like high level players, when they get in that situation, they just know what to do. And you know, he missed one out to the right, but you know, we laid up fine. It was as nerve wracking as that shot was. It's also so exciting because it taught him so much about like, hey, this is narrow under the most pressure you're ever going to face. Like, here's what I got to do, and he just did it.
Yeah, no doubt. There's so many moments where I feel like through conversations that he had with you or conversations that he had with himself or a combination of both, the bigger the moment, the more he stepped up, no doubt. It was awesome. And obviously Friday afternoon we're finishing there on Friday, and it's kind of a bittersweet thing, right? Because we know he's going to miss the cut, but he just played such a phenomenal round of golf in those conditions. I mean, those conditions ended up, right, causing more people to falter, and you just stepped up and dominated in those conditions. It was awesome. But from 18, you go over to probably my favorite place in all of Augusta, underneath the oak tree, just hanging out. So many memories of the family just having beers and hanging out and drinking there and whatever. But some of the things now that I'd like to chat about, since I know probably both you guys are short on time, but talking about some of the highlights, right? Whether you guys want to talk about golf or you want to talk about away from golf or the par 3 or whatever, but like, let's go shot for shot here, highlight for highlight. So, and then we can just see where this thing takes us. So, highlight of the week for you, Aaron, what do you think?
Well, this is like a non-golf highlight. You know, they give you this super nice Mercedes car, like probably 150 grand. And it was like my first time in the car, you know, and I'm driving my little 2012 Honda Civic back in Vegas, right? You know, typical Caymanian thing to do. And I just like get in this car and I'm just like, I'm trying to find, I think you were with me, Zach, right?
Yeah, Sunday night you register. Wall register, and I think Gary Player wanted to remind you that if you're nervous signing in, good luck in the tournament, right? Because you couldn't remember your phone number, or God forbid, I think it might have even been your birthday, right? So you couldn't remember this stuff. We're registering. Billy Horschel's in there just doing Billy's thing, like talking and telling stories and picking up a courtesy card for his wife because he wants to take the Gator Orange Jarvis in every day or whatever he was doing, right? And then we got the keys to this car, yet you have no idea how to turn this car on. So it's just Billy and us in the parking lot. Then it's just us. I think at one point you might have even pulled out your phone and got on YouTube to look at how do you start an M Series Mercedes.
No, it was ridiculous. It was like 30 minutes. I just couldn't. I mean, I still can't remember, right? I still don't know. Obviously, I figured it out, but it was like, it took me like 30, 45 minutes just to freaking turn this shit on. And then from there, you know, had the Caribbean music flowing out the driveway, just having good vibes. That was definitely one of the highlights and of the week. Just being able to be with all my people. And I think my people probably had the most beers out of anyone else in Augusta. Those cups were just stacked up, right? Those are the things I take away as well. Obviously, the hole 12 is probably the most memorable, and making birdie there both days was pretty cool. But I think like off the course, it was just pretty cool to see like all my people there and having a good time.
Yeah, amazing. AJ, you got one. We're not just going to keep it to one, but we'll give us your first highlight of many from the week.
I mean, my highlights were the good golf. You know, like I love the good golf. I mean, some of those shots he hit were awesome, man. And like that's what I remember the most. I remember 12. I remember when Aaron was just pumping up the crowd. after he hit that shot close. And then I remember 16. I remember the par threes a lot. I mean, there were so many good things off the golf course. I mean, that week was really perfect. Like, his family did such a good job organizing the whole thing. And, the place that we were staying at was perfect, and showing up to the golf course at sunrise. And I just sit there with a cup of coffee and a pin sheet and just kind of watch guys warm up. Like, for me, there's not one thing, but like the good golf made me happy for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that story of the Mercedes makes me think of like the mornings driving in, right? And going down Magnolia Lane with the vibes, but also with the anticipation for what's that day going to present, right? Some of those days were practice round days where it was like, hey, are we going to figure out how to hit some golf shots today? Or are we going to figure out how to kind of, for you, Aaron, to get out of your own way a little bit? And then Thursday driving down, like the excitement of the first major. And then, yeah, I mean, you just, each and every day you had the Soca going and you had it amazing. But I don't think we ever took for granted the fact that you were at Augusta. But I also don't think you ever felt like you didn't belong. And I think those shots, like you said, AJ, the good golf showed that you belonged out there. And you, the name of my podcast is Earned Not Given, right? You earned the right to be at Augusta. And clearly the golf that you displayed showed that invitation from the committee was warranted. You got some more memories for us, Aaron? Any stories?
Definitely the Andrew slip was funny, and then just typical Andrew, getting mad and then leaving. He just wanted to drive that nice Mercedes. He just wanted to get in that whip because I didn't let him drive it. He was like, "Can I drive it? Can I drive?" I'm like, "No, I want to drive it." Just building some good relationships with the guys on the practice round. They're all open. They're all very, they just wanted to help me, and they're just out there having fun too. And I think, man, just taking in the whole experience from going out there for the 5 days, and me and AJ getting up at 2 a.m. just to catch a 5 a.m. flight from Atlanta back to Vegas. It's just like stuff like that just sticks with me. And just seeing the amount of people there just blew my mind. Like, it feels like there's too many people on property, but they just managed to just put everyone in the right places. And overall, it's just an awesome experience.
Yeah, I obviously, AJ, you and I, when we were scouting, got to see the locker room and we got to see the clubhouse and we got to do all that. But we didn't get to sleep in the crow's nest. So what was it like, Aaron, getting to stay in the crow's nest?
Yeah, I stayed there after the amateur dinner on the Monday, and that was pretty cool. Me and a few other amateurs just stayed, and we just kind of hung out. We had the dinner, and then we went to like the little bar area. It was just me, James Piot, and Stu Hagestad, and we're just out there just chatting it up with the guys in the locker room, maybe having a couple drinks. I don't know what's going on, but we're just vibing, having a good time, and then we're up in the crow's nest, and we're just kind of chatting about general life and just, building the connection up there. Was pretty cool.
Zach, I'm pretty sure you and I got a text Monday night saying we're going to be on the 10th tee at 8:15 with Sergio, John Rahm, and Joaquin.
Yeah.
And it was like 8 o'clock. We're kind of like, where's our guy? Like, what's going on here? So I think Aaron had a good time Monday night.
Yeah, there is no doubt that Tuesday morning, I think, was a time where we all said, it's time to have an intervention. We're going to have some discussion of, we still got to show up to our tee time. We still got to do the prep right, but no better reason to maybe miss a tee time with multiple Masters champions than having a few drinks in the crow's nest. So I think you earned it. I think it's great. We obviously pulled the plug and you stayed at the house the rest of the week, which I think was a good idea. Otherwise, we wouldn't want to miss our tee time on Thursday. But speaking of having a few drinks, one of the memories that stands out the most to me is you missed the cut after playing amazing on Friday, and everyone's emotional. Everyone's excited for you because you give just an amazing interview on that little soapbox behind the pro shop. And we started drinking beers, and you played not that early, and so we kept drinking beers, and we kept drinking beers. And then that night, we're having a putting contest in the house. I've had a few beers, and I look over, and it's the freaking security guard from Augusta in our house having a putting contest with us. It was just wild.
I think Peyton or someone has a video of even me doing a putting contest, and it was like if I miss, I got to jump in the lake, and it was like it went halfway. It wasn't even close, and yeah, just building that connection with the security guard. I'm still in contact with him on Instagram. It's just like to see him at our place, just getting charged up, just having a good time, getting ready to go back to work on Saturday. It was a pretty cool experience for him and for us too.
Yeah, Saturday was a cool experience too, right? Because we went back, obviously not playing, but we all went back to watch the golf, and you were underneath that famous tree, and you're just standing there, and out of nowhere, Scott Van Pelt just walks up and goes, "Hey, Aaron, nice shot yesterday." And I just got chills all over my body. And there goes Tiger walking by. And yeah, and I think he said something to him like, well, maybe we can play together at the Open or something. It was like just wild, right? So there was a lot of great stuff, but definitely your golf was, I agree with AJ, was the highlight for me. Besides kind of those experiences and the people you got to meet and what you got, but some insight of like what makes Augusta special is kind of the par 3. And yeah, we got rained out, but you got to play the par 3. Speaking of slippy, I remember your brother gets in the caddy suit because AJ said, hey, why don't you caddy for your brother in the par 3? So he's getting the suit on. And in true Andrew fashion, we're having lunch in the grill room, and Andrew tries to come into the grill room in the caddy suit with your clubs.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, dude, what are you doing, bro? Just in the suit. You know, there's other professionals there. Like Tiger was his parents.
Roger Goodell was sitting at the table right next to the door, just looking at this guy like,
I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm like, yeah, we'll wait out there. And then, that was cool. I got to play with Harry Higgs, and I see Harry all the time now. And you know, with Brooks, it was pretty cool and I made Andrew hit a putt from like 5 feet. He gives a big fist bump, and you know, it was a cool experience.
Yeah, it was good. And you definitely played the par 3s better in the tournament than you did in the par 3. There's no doubt.
Did not hit the green 5 holes.
And then the lightning came, and it was whatever. But yeah, there's just so many great vibes. But for me, to see you guys and see what you did in that moment, right? Obviously, I know there's like, oh, it would have been amazing to make the cut or to be a low am or to contend on Sunday. But I think the two of you guys no doubt can be proud of what you did and how you carried yourself. For those future amateurs that get the privilege of playing, what do you guys have for some advice for them? Because you've obviously been through it. You've experienced it. Seems like every year they're getting to add 1 or 2 more amateurs. But what would you guys suggest or encourage one of these amateurs that gets this opportunity to play?
I think preparation is key. Being able to go out there and, like AJ said, with the equipment, get your equipment right. And then honestly, you got to be able to work it on certain holes. You got to be able to hit it both ways. And if you don't, like, again, I had like 200 yards in on hole 10 compared to guys having 150 yards. Like, that makes a difference. So stuff like that, like going out and practicing on the course and just knowing you have to miss it in this spot is crucial. And being patient, of course, like any other golf tournament. But tee shots for sure is definitely up there, and going out there and playing well.
I would say just do it literally exactly like we did it. I mean, I think you need to split up your 5 practice days, just like we did. Prepare yourself well, just like you're preparing for any other golf tournament, but at the same time, like, really enjoy everything.
Yeah.
And we did that. You know, I think we're both proud of, you know, the way we competed, but we're also proud of the way that we enjoyed the experience. And so if you're getting a chance to play there for the first time as an amateur, go and enjoy it. Literally just do what we did and it'll be good.
Yeah.
No doubt. I think you guys, even there were days where we thought, hey, we're just going to play 9, right? And then somebody says, hey, would you like to join us? And the next thing you know, you're playing another 9 holes at Augusta, right? Because that's pretty awesome, right? I don't think that either of you ever wore yourself out physically or emotionally because the adrenaline from the event is so much. I would imagine if you're Scotty Scheffler or you're Tiger Woods or you whoever, and you're playing it a bunch, maybe 9 holes more days, but you definitely maximize the opportunity to play with as many pros as you could and learn the golf course as much as you could. I don't think you were physically exhausted by the end. I think you just stacked up more memories by playing more.
Yeah, for sure. I think, remember the blister situation? You walk so much out there. I had a blister. I couldn't even walk. Maybe Zach will find that video and put it in there too, but it was like.
You heard it, Casey. He said I can put the video in. I got a video of Aaron walking up 18 where he looks like a cross between he has to go to the bathroom and he broke both his legs. And he's just waddling up the fairway. He made a decision to change golf shoes and got some blisters. And it was if we made a mistake, that was probably the mistake. But at least it was in the scouting trip. We left Augusta, I think. Oh no, all the guys in the locker room, we had like Band-Aids everywhere, getting this guy stitched up. And poor guy on blisters, I said, well, we're going another 18. Like, I don't know how many times I'm going to be at Augusta. Like, let's go. And yeah, that was fun. We'll definitely link up the blisters. There are some good ones. You did well in the media center, the tunnels. There's so much, right? But I don't think you missed any opportunity to create a memory. I really hope someday we can run it back, guys. Whether AJ, now that you're playing professional, maybe you can switch it, right? And if you make it, maybe you bring Aaron as the caddy.
I'll hold the tryout. He can come and try out.
Yeah.
It'd be amazing, right? I think that's what's so cool about you guys is you had fun, but you also were professional. You did amazing. Obviously, for people to listen to this, the understanding of every golf hole is amazing that the two of you have, and the memories from every hole, and the memories from practice rounds are some are even more vivid than memories from the tournament, because there were moments there where I'm sure it became a blur, right? The first few holes on Thursday, and I mean, I'm outside the ropes and I'm nervous. I can't imagine you guys. Like AJ said, that 7-iron kind of settled you in. But just in general, just be super proud. And I can't thank you guys enough for providing insight to the 1 or 2 people who will maybe listen, but maybe with you 2 superstars on here, we'll get a few more listeners. And then I guess since I have both of you here, on every podcast, I ask the guests that I have what earned not given means to you. And so I employ both of you guys to answer the question of what does earned not given mean to each of you?
Just for me, I think it's just putting in the work. You know, you got to go out there and prove to yourself that you can do it. And if you know you've done the work, then don't be surprised when you get a good result. But if you don't put in the work and you kind of, just lazy and just don't care and you don't get the result that you're looking for, then obviously you can't be mad at that, or you got to just about working hard and, having the right attitude and going about your day, knowing that you're doing the right things. Good things will happen.
Awesome.
A good result in really anything, but especially in golf, is never just going to be given to you. So if you're not getting the result you want, you got to keep going out there and earning it, and just realizing that nobody is going to give you anything in this game. You got to go earn it.
Yeah, I think that might be the best answer I've had ever, AJ. So thank you for that. And both of you guys are obviously competing and playing right now. So I hope you guys go out there and you earn that future success, and can't wait for the time we're standing under that oak tree again, drinking beers and trying to convince the next security guard to come back for a putting contest. When we roll it back, though, Let's make that putting contest on Sunday night. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
You want to see how we do it in the pros?
Changing your swing is about repetition without repetition. You don't just hit 500 balls with this thing and change your swing. You also don't just hit 500 balls without a thought.
Welcome to Earned Not Given.